Coming from the poop deck of the USS Nebadon in the Urantia super universe, I am James Nimmons.
Dave Ward.
And this is Pop Satellite. Yeah. So before, last week we weren't here. We didn't do a show, so
yeah, it was Thanksgiving.
That's why
you went down to Florida to see your woman, and
yes, I was down there frying turkeys with my friends,
bask in the warmth down there while we froze up here,
watching wild iguanas stalk squirrels.
Oh, that would have been fun.
Yeah, this wild iguana came running out of the bushes at this squirrel. I don't know if it was trying to chase the squirrel away or eat the squirrel, because they eat like vegetables mostly, but I'm sure they eat a little bit of meat too. But it was charging this squirrel. I'm like, whoa!
It's just hilarious that other animals in the animal kingdom hate squirrels as much as humans do.
Well, the squirrels at this park would come right up to you, and look right at you, and they move real slow around you too. So
really?
Yeah, they would just creep up to you, and they would get close enough you could hand feed them if you had food to give them. But,
wow.
Yeah, they're ballsy. And then this big iguana came out down the tree tops. And then there was like at least three. We saw at least 3 iguanas before we left the park.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was crazy. It's down near Mar-a-Lago where the president was staying. And on our way across the bridge back to town, we saw, well, the president wasn't there yet, but we saw a police gunboat with a big 50 caliber machine gun.
No, I'm sure that's on like 24/7 guard right around Mar-a-Lago to make sure.
I've been over that bridge before. I haven't seen that particular police boat, but there was a lot of cops lining the road to Mar-a-Lago, and over the bridge in town, lining the street there was a lot of people with MAGA hats on.
Oh boy.
Lining the streets just waiting for Trump to come by. But I was like, ooh,
wow.
Machine gun boat. Sweet. I've seen those in video games.
Far Cry had a pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking about.
Oh, man, yeah. Those 50 cals in Far Cry were awesome. Yeah, so the thing, one of the big things that's happened since we were away, and it still galls a lot of people, including me, is Bill Maher,
He was saying comic books are just for kids and totally disrespecting them.
Well, not
those
only
of them don't know what he's done so far.
Yeah, not only that, but going on to insult like college kids that use like subject matter like the Silver Surfer, is like material for like their final thesis and stuff like that. And it's like, you really, dude, you don't know what those kids are, what actual subject their thesis is in or what they're taking for their degree.
You don't know what they're studying.
I mean, that could be literary for all, but also Stan himself was as much of a cultural icon from the early part of the 20th century on.
What bugs me is that Maher was trying to just impart that Stan Lee wasn't important.
Yeah.
And that's awful. That's an awful thing to try to do to a dead guy, especially.
Well, not only that, but you're insulting like legions, not only legions of fans naturally, but you're insulting a lot of people that drew influence, not only like artwork-wise or, life-wise, but literary-wise as well, from comics and how things were written. And Stan himself made sure that comics have been part of our history and what has been going on in the times. Because, when things started out, what did we have? Captain America punching out Hitler.
You kept him a little bit relevant over time.
So
World War II affected everything.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But comics were just one way to get back. So were the Looney Tunes of the time. They were always making Hitler eat carpets and stuff.
Oh, yeah. So you go...
Superman versus Hitler.
Yeah, so you insult... I get that comedy has no boundaries, and I fully respect that. I really do.
I don't think he was making a joke, though.
But it's not... I think he was just being a dick as well, and, that's like insulting, in a religious aspect, that's kind of like insulting the Pope right after he just died.
Right.
And this particular Pope being a good one. I mean, or, there's just some things that's like, you know what, dude, really? Just shut up.
How would he like it if someone talked junk about comedians, and how there weren't any important comedians after somebody like when Don Rickles dies,
or, you insult Carlin after he died,
Right. Nobody would have done that.
So, it's...
Nobody worth a damn anyway.
Yeah. It's uncalled for. It was really uncalled for, and it was done in ignorance. And him doubling down on that, just
He just doesn't have an open mind at all.
he just, I mean, he refuses. It's almost like he just refuses. He acts like a Republican. Mar, you don't.
Those Republicans you hate so much, the repubes.
Yeah, the ones that don't look at facts and don't look at results and draw opinions from there
Based on their feelings.
Yes, exactly.
But anyway,
So,
enough about Bill Maher.
Yeah,
All the
douchebag.
airtime he's worth. The creator of SpongeBob SquarePants, Steven Hillenburg, passed away
That
of
was
ALS,
really sad. Yeah,
which is amyotrophic lateral sclerosis.
Lou Gehrig's disease.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that's what that was.
Yeah,
So you lose control of your muscles. Yeah. Okay. You stop
it's the
moving.
same thing
you
Stephen Hawking died from.
Stop breathing. And but I didn't know this, but he initially trained in marine biology. So he wrote and directed some Rocco before he did SpongeBob. But,
Yeah,
he had a degree in marine biology.
The funny thing about Bikini Bottom is where that's actually he based it.
Yeah.
Bikini Atoll,
Oh, really?
where all the nuclear tests happen. So
Yeah, so Bikini
everything
Bottom.
everything in Bikini Bottom is a radiation mutation from all of the nuclear tests.
So that's why you got talking plankton.
Yeah, and talking sponges and starfish and whatever else. But yeah, that was the shtick about it.
Well,
If you looked into it, Bikini Bottom was actually the bottom of the ocean under Bikini Atoll.
That's crazy. I love fan theories and stuff about these cartoons, darker fan theories. He is survived by his wife Karen, his mother Nancy, his son Clay, and his brother Brian. All the Hillenburg clan. Heart goes out to them because it's one of those people you feel their absence. Like we won't get anything that good ever again.
No.
From him. So that's a little bit of sad news. But in something, I got a little bit tidbit here, something else that's to cleanse your palate. New Super Mario Brothers movie is in the works, and it's directed by Chris Melandri, who is also the guy of over Illumination Studios, who is going to be animating the thing. It's going to be 3D animation. So he said that he likes the idea of doing a movie that was done poorly the first time. That way it's not so hard to mess with it because, if it's something that shouldn't be messed with, it's going to make a lot of people mad.
We need a Mario Kart movie.
Well, maybe they'll use a cart in the movie.
No, we need like a just total Mario Kart movie. That's what we really need.
Have Mario, a cross between like the Transporter and Super Mario.
Or like
Mario's like, I'll get you there. Get on the cart. And then the whole thing's just a lot of cart chases through malls and cities and stuff.
That would be great. Yeah,
that would be great. But so yeah, it's just gonna be like Super Mario Brothers. Think about Mario 64. I haven't seen anything from this movie but a still image. So it just looks like the cartoon Mario Brothers that you're used to. So that's going to be good.
All right.
They're keeping Shigeru Miyamoto up front on that. And sorry, that's a communication from another ship. Just forget that for the moment. Shigeru Miyamoto is part of this project, and they are using him heavily, like relying on him heavily.
Nice.
So it's going to be great. It's going to be pure Mario because you got Shigeru there to answer questions, and they're taking his guidance. They're not like pushing him to the back, and they're like, we don't understand why the trend in Hollywood these days is to think you can make something better than the originator of it, and they always cut the originator out.
Yeah.
So this time they're just leaving him as part of the process.
That's awesome.
That's what you should do when you got all that kind of money.
Of course.
Pay the originator and get yourself some good ideas.
But yeah,
it's going to be good. I think Super Mario Brothers is going to be good.
Anyone else that thinks there should be like a Mario Kart movie, you should like comment and say something.
Comment, and maybe we'll get a Kickstarter started.
Mario Kart movie.
Mario Kart movie. Hashtag Mario Kart movie. Hashtag Mario Kart movie. Come on.
Well, something along the video game lines that for you old school PlayStation users, I read a few days ago that Square Enix has filed in a European court for a trademark for Parasite Eve. And if you know anything about the trademark world, when you file for a trademark, you have to use it. You cannot just sit on it. So Now the rumors are immediately swirling. Are we going to see a PlayStation 4 or maybe...
We ain't going to see a movie, that's for sure. Because Madonna owns the rights to that in America.
Yeah, but it's either going to be like late PlayStation 4 or one of the first PlayStation 5 games to come out, a new version of Parasite Eve. And if you never played the game on PlayStation 1, I suggest digging out a PlayStation 1 and finding a copy and playing it, because it is still one of the creepiest and one of the coolest, RPGs there are.
So instead of like zombies at the time, because it was like Resident Evil zombies, and you got Parasite Eve, it played almost exactly the same, but it was like weird medical experiments and plants. And
it was very Japanese and very creepy.
Yeah,
I
creepy
loved it.
Monsters.
Loved it. So yeah, a new version coming out, that gives me some excitement. I really, really, really want to play that.
Awesome. I can't wait. I think I saw something that was Parasite Eve related recently. I'm going to have to go back and dig in my history. But back to some Stan Lee stuff. Brie Larson and Gwyneth Paltrow both had to delete insensitive tweets about Stan Lee's death, which was like, what the hell's up with that? I've seen both of them. Gwyneth Paltrow's
like they tweeted themselves these bad comments?
Selfies. They tweeted selfies of themselves saying shit like, like Brie Larson is like, rest in peace, Stan, a legend, but it's just this like photo shoot image of her with her foot up in a chair. It's basically me. It's not. It's a picture of her. It's not just the comment.
Right.
It's sent out along with a picture of her. Like, it's like, here's some free publicity for myself. And the same thing, Gwyneth Paltrow did the same thing, and she also in her tweet mentions that the dress she's wearing in the picture is for sale. Like, really? The dress you're wearing in your Stan Lee tweet is for sale?
Classy.
That's very classy.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
You don't need the money? Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah. Come on now, don't be a stereotype, Gwyneth. We know you're Jewish. Don't be stereo. Don't play to type. Don't play to type. Stop that.
Oh man.
Make them all look bad.
Speaking of bad taste, Netflix. Oh my God, I don't know what is going on in this world, and I blame Disney as much as Netflix. I'm mad at both of them. Just announced canceled Daredevil.
What?
Yeah, no season 4 Daredevil. It's gone.
It's going to go on to Disney's streaming.
Maybe, I don't know.
They need products to get people over there. Take Daredevil away from everybody and give it back to them over there. I bet Punisher will follow.
I hope not.
But speaking of Netflix, I've been watching Altered Carbon, and I never watched the anime that it's based off of, but this is a pretty messed up story. It's really cool. If you like futuristic stuff and clones and people switching bodies and all that kind of thing, because your body is like a pair of pants. They call it a sleeve. Usually they're prisoners that have been given life sentences, so the aliens at some point have come along in the past. You don't really see them or anything. They just mention that aliens came along in the past and taught us how to store our souls on these little drives, and you install them at the base of a brain. And so rich people can grow all clones of themselves or other people or different bodies and get their brains installed in there, or they can, poor people like just take whatever's around.
Nice. So
like you might have your 3-year-old daughter get respun up into the body of an old woman just because they needed to give her a body. People are just switching bodies all the time. Your grandma might come home in a gang member's body with like SS tattoos and stuff.
Oh, God.
You'd be like, "Oh, baby, what are you doing?" Talk to you like that.
And then Netflix, I also have read, are about to start working on a live-action Cowboy Bebop.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be sweet. I hope they don't ruin that.
I've got mixed emotions on it. I hope it is done right, for sure.
So if I'm going to try to get people to watch this Altered Carbon, I have to tell you a little bit about it. You're this guy wakes up, and he's property of this really, really rich guy. They're called Meths, as Methuselah. It's short for Methuselah because they've been alive for like 200 years or something.
Wow.
And so they live on these palaces that like spike up through the atmosphere, so far up off the ground. And so he's solving the murder of one of this Methuselah's clones. You know, he got murdered, but it didn't hurt the disc, so he didn't particularly die. But somebody attempted to murder him and shot him in the brain and blasted his head all over the wall. And it's weird because if you don't hit the disc, that person can be spun up in another body. And if they're rich, they have copies of themselves.
Okay.
So it was like, I want you to solve my murder. And the guy's name's Takeshi Kovacs. So he's like part Hungarian and part Asian. And he got spun up in a white guy's body.
Oh, God.
And somebody else is in his body out there now. It's crazy. It's just crazy. It's a really good show. A lot of futuristic gadgets, a lot of futuristic weaponry. It looks like Blade Runner. It just really like some extenuation of Blade Runner.
Nice.
If you ask me. Just with everybody's on a disk drive. But anyway, that's all about that show. What was the last one you just mentioned? The Cowboy Bebop?
Yeah, Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah, casting. It's all about casting. If you cast it right, it'll be sweet. But people don't put that much into casting, or they change the way characters look. Like, if they don't make an attempt to capture Spike's unique haircut, then I don't want to watch it. Just like when they fucked up Goku in the Dragon Ball movies. Like, ugh, stupid. I know his haircut looks silly, but
there's tons of cosplayers out there that have actually done that hairstyle.
Yeah.
Like, without any sort of like professional help.
Yeah, so you got no excuse. There's no excuse. When I can go to a con and see characters come to life, you just have no excuse.
No, you don't.
That's all there is to that.
But not only that,
screen and when you won't read was whatever.
But not only that, but like I don't know, the essence of that show was it was really like Bounty Hunter Wild West in space, and you really had that feel to it.
Yes,
it was like you knew it was
like a cartoon version of Firefly.
Almost.
The ships even kind of resembled each other.
So that, I mean, you've got to have a corgi in there. You've got to have a little redhead in there for Ed. You've got to have these details in there, and you've got to have them right for a live action.
I've already seen an article about, is the new Cowboy Bebop going to be whitewashing? Meaning, are they going to cast white people?
Oh my God.
In a country full of white people, or are we going to cast white people in the roles? Or are we going to look up Asian
Look at
people?
how they're drawn up in the animation.
They have big round eyes, but that's beside the point.
And I'm sorry, there's again, cosplayers, you can find somebody that would be a perfect Fae.
Yes, I've seen perfect
and a
Faes.
perfect Jet.
I've seen a couple of perfect Spikes.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, but the thing is, it's not whitewashing. If your country is majority white, to use white actors instead of Asian actors.
But I'm sorry, if you, like I said, look
but
at
I
how
doubt that's going to happen.
If you look at how they're drawn up in the animation, they are drawn as such.
They're white people. Because the cartoon is Japanese.
Even the African Americans are African American.
They're not Japanese blacks.
There's a couple of them in there if you watch the cartoon.
We're walking a line here.
Oh, well.
But then people are already getting their noses out of joint, and it's not even out yet.
I'm sure they are.
Whitewashing, yes. It's what you can claim that about anything done in America.
You can. I mean, people are going to be upset about it regardless of how it's portrayed. Somebody's either going to be like, "Oh, you threw too much cultural appropriation in there," or "You didn't put anything in there, or putting enough." Somebody is going to have some reason to get their underwear up their ass. I mean, they really will. And you just can't just be entertained. You can't enjoy the product that's come out without having to piss and moan and bitch about some aspect of it that offends your sensibilities and it gets on my nerves. You have no place, and you are a moron for even bringing it up. You ruin everyone else's good time. Shut the hell up.
I don't like those sorts of people either. I spend a lot of time online hunting them for sport and blasting them in comment sections.
I mean,
I got
seriously.
Nothing else to do.
I mean, it's like, do you have nothing better to do? nothing in your life better to do than to go and criticize everyone else's good time. I mean, I write a negative space article, and I like to trash talk a few things. Don't get me wrong, but there's a difference between like picking things to trash talk that are, that have plenty of source material, and then picking between that and like going to something or like watching something like Cowboy Bebop and going, I'm offended because of this. No.
If you don't like what you're watching, watch something else. Let the people who it was made for, because it wasn't made for you. It's not made for you.
This is why I don't watch the new Star Trek. I'll bitch about it, but I'm not watching it.
I mean, I watched it just for morbid curiosity, so I could have more things to talk about it.
Yeah, I watched enough of that first season to just, I didn't even finish it. I hated it so much.
It's weak.
Very.
The new Aquaman featurette, which I will put a link to in the description. James Wan loves Aquaman. That's all I can say about it. He's putting some really painstaking care into his production of Aquaman. And if you watch this featurette, you can pay attention to some of the ways they're just setting the scene there. There's one little indoor green screen scene where they have a bunch of these little plants and lots of falling water and real stuff around them on the set.
Nice.
And, just adjustments to things like that take really tedious care and headache. To get just right.
I always like seeing directors that go that little extra step to actually bring to life something that they actually read in comic books. Bill Maher.
He said you have to, and he's even said you have to love the character.
Yeah.
Right. You have to love the characters. So he's made himself love Aquaman if he wasn't already a fan. You got to love the character. You can't just be manipulating the character for an end. That's not going to work, and it shows. When writers love characters, the story is awesome.
Yeah, it's quite apparent with the string of Marvel movies that have come out here recently that they just have not given a crap about.
They just run through a meat grinder.
Disney.
They don't love what they're doing.
Fox.
You can tell there's no love in it.
No, there's not.
It used to be. That's why all the older animation and stuff, there was a lot of love put into that. And so it's smoother, and like old Warner Brothers and old Disney. Disney doesn't look like Disney anymore. That's pretty sad.
Oh yeah, so speaking of more crap going on, and this is the video game world, apparently there's like this law firm that out of DC that are investigating Bethesda over Fallout 76. Go figure. Apparently they are sending like emails or something out to players that have requested refunds from Bethesda over how absolutely abysmal Fallout 76 is.
There's no game. It's just an empty world.
And since
with other people in it.
Since Bethesda has like vehemently refused to give anyone a refund at all, apparently this law firm is like getting all these claims together for some sort of class action suit against Bethesda, which, yeah, at this point, like, if you just let Bethesda go, they are going to tank. It's like they came out, they were a terrible video game developer to begin with. They only had a couple of little small successes here and there, like back during the PlayStation 2 days. But then, they somehow stumbled on Fallout, and everybody loved it, despite knowing it came from Bethesda and despite all of the bugs that it has had through every incarnation.
At least it had quests and story.
Yeah, but
which is what this game lacks.
This game has like kept Bethesda afloat, and instead of actually like taking the profits that they've made and reinvesting it in actually developing new good games, they've just sat. And like whatever else they've come out with that's been Fallout oriented has got continually worse until now you have Fallout 76 and it's like a pile of shit.
It's a pile of crap. You're right. You're absolutely right about that.
So you would probably be doing everyone a favor if you did file a class action suit, because that would be the final nail in the coffin for Bethesda before Bethesda does it to themselves.
Yeah, well, maybe they can pull this one out, or maybe they can release some sort of content that has all the quest data.
I doubt it.
Release a big fat download and put the game in. But
What is this right now? Up to like 58 gigs, something like that.
who knows?
I mean, it's
I
ridiculous.
don't know. Well, people know. I just don't know. But then 50 gigs is still a lot.
That's a lot of space, man.
Yeah, it's a lot. In games, that's just. I remember when a game would take up like 8 or 9 gigs.
I remember when they came on a cartridge and we played them on the Nintendo.
Well, there you go. Star Wars reveals Mandalorian TV show headed by Jon Favreau. He produced and wrote the series. So he says it takes place after Return of the Jedi. And here's some of the directors: Dave Filoni from Clone Wars and Rebels, Taika Waititi from Thor Ragnarok, and of course Jon Favreau is going to direct, and there'll be other guest directors in there. But there's some decent talent in that, and I hope it turns out. And it
Seems
ends
like
up on
anything.
TV.
I was
I'd
gonna
watch
say,
that. It's
seems
all
like
about Mandalorians.
it seems like anything animated though, especially where Star Wars is oriented, it seems to do really well.
This is live action.
Oh, it's gonna be live
It's
action.
going to be live action.
Oh.
Yeah, Mandalorian TV show.
Oh.
Well, I mean, the shot I saw was of a live action Mandalorian, so
I just assumed it was animated.
I hope it isn't.
That would be
I
interesting.
would just ignore it because I just do. I don't know why. I've never watched the Star Wars animated shows. Not that they're bad, because Gendy Tartakovsky did the Clone Wars cartoons,
No, they're insanely popular.
and the Clone Wars 3D stuff was based off of that, and Rebels based off Clone Wars. But yeah, they're very popular, thanks to Cartoon Network. So
That's all I got.
like one little jab because we got a couple minutes. She-Ra, hated by fans, loved by critics. Rotten Tomatoes gives a fan rating of 40% and critic rating of 100%. Of course, you didn't see that coming. It's a pile of crap. That's all I'm going to say about it. You can watch it and make your own judgment about what type of things it's trying to push.
Well, it just goes back to what I have said oh my God, I don't know how long. When something comes out, if it's not really well received by the public, then chances are it's going to be well received by the critics, and vice versa.
Because the critics need to get that stuff sold.
I blame Siskel and Ebert more than anybody, especially for the modern way that it's done, because them two, I always sat and watched their movie review show when it came on TV, just to see just because I hated each of their opinions.
I watched it for trailers.
Well, that too, but I mean, I absolutely hated their opinions because generally whatever they liked, if I went and saw, I hated. And if they were giving them thumbs down all around, I'm like, I'm going to see this. It's going to be good.
But
and
you used critics, you just used them in reverse.
Yeah, and I still do.
Yeah, that's a good rating. You find someone you hate, a critic you hate, and that's just as good a barometer as one that you like that you agree with, which is going to be rarer.
Yeah.
Right.
But I mean, the way it is now, though, it's just like a big balloon personification of Siskel and Ebert with critical acclaim of a show, and it's okay, going back to Star Trek Discovery.
Gamergate's proven that critics can be bought and cajoled.
Well, yeah, of course. But you look at you go back to Star Trek because at last count. See, I'm actually going to look this up right now. We're going to go over a little bit because I don't care.
All right.
RottenTomatoes.com.
Shout out to Rotten Tomatoes.
Yes, definitely, because you guys are awesome. All right, let's see here. Star Trek Discovery.
Your computer's gonna melt.
Nah, it'll be all right.
No.
All right, so average audience score for Star Trek Discovery, 55%. Let's see here.
Let's say that again.
Critics of Star Trek Discovery, 82%.
And it was 90 when it started, and it was 20 fan per something like that, 35 to 20.
So there's another example. Only 55% audience, actual people watching the show, liked it, but Somehow, 82% of critics loved it, so this is how it got renewed for a second season.
Well, I don't. It feels wrong to discourage people from Star Trek. It really does. But you can watch it and make up your own mind about that. We're open-minded here. We gave it a chance. It just doesn't add up. It doesn't meet our expectations.
So they also have come out with these 4 little Star Trek short stories, the Star Trek Discovery short treks. Even worse. Audience score, 42%.
Wah, wah, wah.
Critic score, not even a critic score yet, but
We haven't watched it.
but as far as like audience score goes, average 42%, 2.2 out of 5.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, that does it for this episode. Tune in next week. Same bad time, same bad channel. When we're going to be doing the same thing.
With some other crap.
So in the meantime, keep your nose in the air and your tail to yourself.
Take it easy.
Season starting.